It hovers over a marigold, a perfect counterfeit of a honeybee. The morning sun warms a small city garden, and the air is filled with a soft, steady hum. To a child leaning in close, the insect is a familiar friend, fuzzy and amber, with bold, confident bands of black and yellow. It holds itself with the posture of a honeybee, a creature known and respected. But this is a masterful deception. This is the drone fly, Eristalis tenax, a harmless hoverfly wrapped in the costume of an animal that can sting. It is a disguise worn to deter hungry birds and watchful lizards, an ancient mimicry that buys it peace among the petals. It has no hive to defend, no venom to inject. It is a solitary artist of illusion. And our story today is not just about this clever imposter, but about its hidden other self, a life that begins not in the air, but in the dark, forgotten waters below. Suspended with the precise control of a tiny helicopter, the adult fly sips nectar. Its tongue is not a straw, but a spongy pad, lapping up the sweet liquid. As it feeds, its fuzzy body becomes dusted with sticky pollen grains, which it carries from one bloom to the next. By revisiting the same patch of flowers again and again, it becomes a crucial, if accidental, pollinator. This traveler is a true cosmopolitan, found across continents, from windy coastlines to high-rise balcony gardens. It thrives wherever flowers open to the sun and stagnant water gathers in the shade. It is at the edge of a small, still pond that our story truly begins. The female fly taps a reed with her abdomen, depositing a cluster of pearly white eggs just where the green scum meets the air. It is from one of these eggs that a creature of astonishing design will emerge. A larva with a telescoping breathing tube, the famous rat-tailed maggot. While its head is buried deep in the sludge, filtering bacteria and organic crumbs, its tail will stretch to the surface, sipping air. It is a life built to thrive in oxygen-starved waters, a quiet cleaner of the unseen world. When it is full and ready, it will crawl ashore, seal itself into a pupal case, and remake its body for the sky. Who could guess that the bee on the blossom began its life as a tiny janitor of the pond? Back in the garden, that striking resemblance to a honeybee is a textbook case of Batesian mimicry, a strategy where a harmless species evolves to imitate the warning signals of a harmful one. Predators that have learned to avoid the painful sting of a bee will hesitate, giving the drone fly a critical split second to vanish into the air. But for the careful observer, there are clues. Look closely at its wings, and you might spot a peculiar faint line that doesn't connect to any other. A spurious vein, a signature of the hoverfly family that betrays its identity even when the stripes mislead. And though it cannot sting, it possesses another remarkable trait, the ability to overwinter as an adult in sheltered corners, awakening on the first mild days of spring to reach the earliest flowers before many true bees are even active. In a world where wild bee populations are under stress, the quiet, consistent work of pollinators like the dronefly matters more than ever. In urban parks and rural hedgerows alike, every steady visitor to a bloom helps ensure the continuation of color and life. But the real surprise of this creature's story is still ahead, beginning in the murky water, the moment our egg splits and a tiny tail-like snorkel rises for its very first breath at the pond's shimmering skin. Imagine taking your first breath through a tail. The late afternoon sun casts long shadows across a city pond. Its surface wears a thin green skin of algae and smells of rich, damp earth after a summer rain. This is the world into which our larva is born. Splitting the gelatinous wall of its egg, it slides into the murky water. We'll call it Ripple. Above, the child from the garden leans on a railing and drops a pebble. Tiny waves shimmer across Ripple's brand new world. This is a life that begins below the boundary between water and air. Yet it is a life that will forever be tied to that very line. And Ripple's most important tool is already unfurling. From its rear, a narrow tube extends, thin as a strand of silk. Then it extends again and again, like a marvelously crafted telescope. At the very tip, two small openings, called spiracles, break the surface to draw in air. The entire tube is ringed with microscopic water-repellent hairs, a design that keeps water out and air in, allowing Ripple to breathe effortlessly where oxygen in the water is almost non-existent. This incredible rat-tailed snorkel can stretch to several times Ripple's body length, a biological masterpiece that allows the larva to feed deep in the nutrient-rich sludge while maintaining its vital connection to the world of air above. A tail built to breathe defines a curious and highly effective way to live. With the tip of its snorkel anchored to the surface, Ripple begins to feed. It has no jaws for biting, no fangs for hunting. Instead, it has soft mouth brushes that sweep in and out like a pair of miniature brooms, gathering bacteria, algae, and the drifting microscopic crumbs of decay. The motion is steady, gentle, almost hypnotic. Despite its somewhat alarming nickname, the rat-tailed maggot is completely harmless to people, pets, and other pond life. It is a peaceful filter feeder, content to harvest the invisible bounty that floats by. And in its own small, quiet way, a gentle feeder like this can gradually reshape its entire environment. Each mouthful of murky water converts waste into new tissue. It is a small act of transformation, repeated countless times a day. As Ripple feeds, the water immediately around its head clears by a fraction, as if a tiny window has been wiped clean. In these stagnant, oxygen-poor shallows where a fish would suffocate, Ripple thrives. Its secret is simple. Its oxygen comes directly from the sky, not from the water around it. By not just surviving, but flourishing in conditions that other creatures cannot tolerate, the larvae of Eristalis tenax play a vital role. They help break down organic sludge, recycling nutrients back into the ecosystem. This is more than survival, it is a form of service. Is it a strange body plan, or simply a brilliant piece of engineering? It is a seamless solution, a perfect match between a challenging habitat and the universal need for air. And it is this perfect fit that brings them into close contact with us, wherever we build, store, or slow the flow of water. You can find relatives of Ripple almost anywhere that water is allowed to stand. A forgotten rain barrel behind a garage, its water green and still. A clogged gutter. A waterlogged ditch at the edge of a farm field. Today, as our cities grow hotter and we look for new ways to capture stormwater, these unplanned miniature wetlands pop up in backyards and on rooftops. The dronefly larvae turn these neglected puddles into tiny, self-operating water treatment plants, a natural process quietly at work in the heart of our modern world. And yet, their fame, ironically, belongs to a stage of life Ripple cannot yet imagine, the adult, the bee mimic that will one day carry pollen from flower to flower. For now, Ripple moves with slow, undulating waves, its body shortening and then stretching, its snorkel always held aloft like a banner. When danger passes overhead, the shadow of a dragonfly, the ripple of a water strider, the tail retracts in an instant, and Ripple sinks into the tea-brown depths, safe and hidden. Its larval skin will be shed more than once, each molt allowing for growth in muscle and reach. But the fundamental rule of its existence will never change. Keep the airway open and keep the brushes sweeping. Everything about Ripple is tuned to living at the boundary, perfectly balanced between the muck of the pond floor and the clean air of the sky. And it is this mastery of boundaries that will matter most when the time finally comes to leave the water for good. As dusk settles over the pond, a change begins. Ripple, now a fully grown rat-tailed maggot, feels an ancient instinct pull it from the scummy shallows toward the cool, damp mud at the water's edge. It moves with a new sense of purpose, leaving its aquatic home behind forever. At first light, the child from the garden crouches nearby, drawn by the morning dew. She spots a small, brown seed-like case, beaded with moisture. It gives a faint, almost imperceptible shiver as a single drop of dew lands upon it. This case is not a cocoon spun from silk. It is the last larval skin of Ripple itself, hardened and tanned into a waterproof protective armor called a puparium. It is a fortress that can shrug off jolts and the pecking beaks of curious birds. Life has not stopped. It has simply gone into seclusion. Protruding from the top of the puparium are two short horn-like breathing tubes. These are the new snorkels, sipping air while the great transformation occurs within the sealed chamber. Inside, an almost magical process unfolds. Most of the larval tissues dissolve into a nutrient-rich broth. From this cellular soup, specialized groups of cells called imaginal discs, which have lain dormant throughout Ripple's entire larval life, begin their work. They are the blueprints for the adult fly. With steady precision, they assemble delicate wings, weave powerful flight muscles, and shape a sponge-tipped proboscis for lapping nectar. They construct immense compound eyes, each composed of thousands of individual lenses, perfectly tuned to detect motion. The creature is dissolving itself and rebuilding a sky-ready body, all within the same tiny room. The time spent inside this case is flexible, dictated by the weather. Warmth speeds the process, while a cold spell can pause it for days. Ripple's transformation is fueled entirely by the fat reserves built up during its time filter feeding in the pond. Brief floods are no threat. The breathing horns are long enough to reach the air. Dry spells are survived because the hardened shell holds moisture like a seed. This profound adaptability has made Eristalis tenax one of the most widespread insects on Earth. It lives on nearly every continent where people do, thriving in our barns, our drains, and our backyard ponds. In our modern cities, this species forms a living link between our wastewater, our gardens, and our food. Ripple's kind filters our ponds as larvae and pollinates our flowers as adults, two completely different stages of a single life, both providing a service to the world we share. The next breath we witness will not be the whisper of a snorkel, but the first faint tremble of newly formed wings. And when the shell finally gives way, what emerges might catch even the morning off guard. A honeybee look-alike lifts from the pond edge mud, the morning sunlight glinting on its new immaculate wings. The dronefly, the final form of Ripple, flexes its legs and shivers its flight muscles, rapidly vibrating them to heat its body for takeoff. Then, with a low hum, it rises. It hangs in the air, a quiet engine of potential, before slipping away from the pond of its birth and toward the bright orange of the marigolds. Its ability to hover is so steady, so precise, it rivals that of a hummingbird. This skill turns into effective pollination with every soft landing, as pollen grains clinging to the fly's fuzzy body are ferried to the next bloom. Its bee-striped abdomen and convincing buzz are its shield. Yet this mimic carries no sting. Look closer and the truth reveals itself. A single pair of wings, not two. Short, stubby antennae, not the long, elegant feelers of a bee. And those enormous wrap-around fly eyes. How many of the bees you think you see in your garden are actually this harmless, helpful stand-in? The males can be distinguished by their eyes, which meet at the top of the head, giving them a vast, unbroken field of view for patrolling their territory and spotting mates. The females have a clear gap between their eyes, their focus divided between the blossoms of today and the search for a suitable body of water for the next generation. Its mouth unrolls like a party favor, a sponge-tipped proboscis designed to lap up nectar and the mineral-rich moisture from damp soil. It even chews soft pollen for the protein needed to produce its eggs. Why this matters so much now is all around us, in our own neighborhoods. Because Eristalis tenax thrives alongside people, it has become a key player in urban ecosystems. As many native bee species face challenges from habitat loss and climate change, these adaptable flies quietly shoulder a significant portion of the pollination work in our towns and cities. They are not a replacement, but they are a resilient and often overlooked backup. Think of this traveler as an everyday ally, an important part of your local environment that you can meet within walking distance of your own home. From a murky, oxygen-starved world to the bright open air, the journey of the dronefly is a story of two lives in one. It begins as a hidden cleaner, a larva whose telescoping snorkel allows it to thrive where others cannot, turning decay into life, one mouthful at a time. Then comes the quiet stillness of the pupa, a period of breathtaking transformation within an armored shell, breathing through two tiny horns. And finally, the emergence of the adult, a masterful mimic in a honeybee costume, a skilled aviator and an essential pollinator. This single creature serves both the water and the blossoms, linking the health of our ponds to the vibrancy of our gardens. Which part of this hidden life, this extraordinary double act, surprised you the most? The breathing snorkel that conquers foul water? The silent, self-contained metamorphosis? Or the clever bee disguise that grants it safe passage among the flowers? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and tell us if you've ever spotted one of these remarkable flies hovering in your own corner of the world. Your observations help us all to see just how deeply this quiet cleaner and nimble visitor shares our streets and our seasons.